devotion. The love, loyalty, or enthusiasm for a person, activity, or cause. In my experience, often either the means of one's accomplishment or their ultimate downfall. Welcome. We meet again. Today, we will be discussing the devotion of one's ideals in our covering of the Archaic. This will be a complete accounting of their history up to their great and terrible discovery in the mines of northern Greenland.
In 1519, as the world was developing, many minds began to perceive threats, not of this earth, but rather from beyond. A man named Francisco Melzi, the student of Leonardo DiCaprio, took it upon himself to create an organization whose primary purpose would be to research xenology, the study of alien life. The organization's name is never explicitly revealed. However, it is given an unofficial nickname by its employees, who commonly refer to it as the Archaic. We do not have any other information regarding its formation, but by the 21st century it is reported that it has over 30,000 members and 203 installations worldwide. Most of these installations typically are labeled as shelter research stations. The shelters are massive underground structures that are self-sustaining and technologically advanced, allowing them to perform their studies without the world knowing. The Archaic members are separated into different ranks, or castes as they call them. They are as follows. Temporary. Temporary is the lowest rank anyone can receive in the Archaic. The employees in this rank are typically considered to be disposable and are often reassigned whenever they are needed elsewhere. The lower caste. This is the standard rank of the Archaic, and they make up the majority of their members. They are often assigned to dedicated projects where they will see the project from beginning to end. However, their authority is below that of the other ranks, aside from temporary, obviously. Chief Staff. The Chief Staff are members considered important to a dedicated project. They are higher in rank than the lower caste and the temporary, but they are still subservient to the elevated caste. The elevated caste are considered to be the most intelligent minds of the Archaic. They are the highest rank an ordinary member can achieve, yet they do find themselves still reporting to the Central Caste. The Central Caste. The Central Caste are not part of the traditional structure. All members are considered the highest leaders of the Archaic, and the power they have in the Archaic is absolute. However, the elevated caste are capable of concealing projects from them if they believe that their involvement in the project would be considered disruptive. We now return to 1903. It is in this year that Inuit mythology is published. It is an article, or a group of them, that detail various beliefs, especially in Greenland. It reads as follows.
Christian Foresight, first published 1903. Over the past 100 years, our people have seen something of a religious revelation. The Qaluit and Inuit in general might be said to have seen the errors of our ways, and Christianity has become increasingly embraced throughout the Arctic communities. It is the purpose of this paper to explore the true roots of our long-held beliefs, and to uncover how they might be justified today in our newfound enlightenment. As such, this essay will be the first I have written in English as opposed to our native Kalaalleq. Anernet. It is no coincidence that the word Anernak bears resemblance to the English word angel. The Anernet are the Inuit equivalent of the soul, an undying entity released in the death of its worldly body. The concept itself is obviously well grounded in decent Christian belief. However, previous thought has been blasphemous to the extent that the souls are attributed to all beings, man or beast. To claim such a thing would be to imply that the killing of a beast for food is the same as the murder of your fellow man, and such a belief simply cannot be held by the civilized Inuit. Tuurngait. Legends speak of disembodied spirits, malicious in nature, sabotaging tools, turning hunts bad, and at times even possessing the weak or unfortunate. A Tuurngait appears to have no recognized or agreed origin, both in terms of the legend itself and the individual being, causing great doubt to be entirely justifiable. Can we in our Christian foresight really believe in possessions and evil spirits? It seems perfectly clear to this writer that the real origin of the Tuurngait belief lies in the Christian demon, for as we are taught by the generous and selfless Moravian Church, those without support, our people would have no doubt starved many years ago, and the demon is capable of possession and countless other atrocities, which only the good Christian man can avoid through a lifetime of humility and devotion. Ingakuit. With the conclusions reached above the status of the cherished Ingakuk, the tribe shaman should be obvious. Such people are in league with the Tuurngait demons, working side by side to control and contain the Kalaalleq people. We have no need for such superstition and suspicion breeding people in our Christian ways. The Protestant priest can perform all the Ingakuit duties and more beside. God. The final challenge of a work such as this should be to find the nature of the Christian God, and I ask why he has not been present for so many years of Inuit belief. Until recently, the Inuit people wrongly attributed to the Anernet almost godlike statuses in certain cases, and treated the Tuurngait as the devil incarnate. It is no major leap of faith to suggest that such beliefs have been underpinned by a central concern that there is something missing in the Inuit life. That something is, indubitably, God. I hope that my findings have informed and enlightened the atheistic few that remain in the Inuit culture, and I ask the Lord Jesus Christ to redeem their souls. Peter-Henry Natur.
We will cover some of these more in depth in a later episode. But the important thing to know about this document is that the Archaic have fully embraced these ideals, and have considered them to be lumped in with their xenology studies. At last, we return to where we left off. Having been sent to locate if xenoactivity was present in Greenland, due to the repeated tragedies and the first strange artifact located by miners and reported on by the British command during World War II, the Archaic have decided to construct a shelter research station in Greenland to monitor and excavate the area and search for any further discoveries. On the 1st of April, 1973, construction begins on Shelter Research Station on site of abandoned Northwestern iron mine. 3rd of March, 1975, shelter construction complete. Key members include Overseer Bren Stafferson, chemist Troy Ritaneske, and translator Howard Lefresque. The time is unknown, however it is very likely before 1990, when Overseer Bren Stafferson is replaced by Wilbur Frisk due to unknown reasons, most likely death. On 1990, shelter operations expand to secondary excavation sites, including Site B, or known as the Water Cave. At the same time of the establishment of the Water Cave, another team is sent into mines by Wilbur Frisk to build additional passages from facility through the mines, which causes serious difficulties.
It is important to note here that Site A is the primary excavation and purpose of the Shelter Research Station. Site A is somewhere in the mines, but we are never given a specific area. However, it is very close to the abandoned part of the mine that we covered on in the last video.
Back at the Water Cave site, Troy makes his reports about his findings, which are rather lacking. He has not made any meaningful discoveries, and he begins using the reports as a means of self-reflection. He reports he wishes he was never given this assignment, and that the noises at night are beginning to play with his mind. On the 12th of September, 1991, Troy Ritaneske is replaced by Neil Oswald as attending chemist at Site B. The reason given by the Archaic is for inexcusable conduct. No further information is available. On the 6th of January, 1992, Substance 63 and Artifact 66B are discovered at Site B. The Archaic quickly compare Artifact 66B to the artifact found by the British command, and they realize they are one and the same. Additionally, however, Substance 63 was buried only 6 yards from 66B. Immediately after this discovery, however, the workers of Site B begin reporting human-like cries, which they say are coming from the rocks. Neil Oswald decides to investigate, and after a short investigation, he determines that the sounds are a result of dehydration, which combined with the natural seismic activity of the rocks will make it sound like human-like noises. In hopes of resolving this issue, he decides to give all the workers additional water rations, which he hopes will fix the problem. During these events, Substance 63 is confirmed as the primary material used in construction of Artifact 66B, henceforth referred to as the Persona TARDIS. This discovery, the Archaic mark it as their first new element they found, which results in a Xeno team being sent to Site B to study the artifact in Substance 63, in the hope of learning more about them. The tests on Substance 63, otherwise known as the Fog, is determined to be a blend of sulfur, chlorine, and aromatic amine, and is considered harmless as long as it is not ingested. Substance 63 appears to turn dead upon heat dissipation, which implies a bacteria-like response. Additionally, any disruption causes it to enter accelerated chemical decay, which they measure the half-life to be 0.4 seconds. The Xeno officer leaves a secondary officer to watch the Persona TARDIS, only for that officer to go missing and not appear until the next day from an uncharted area of the mine. Strangely, the officer has no recollection of the event. During the water cave study, the cast discovers Substance 74, which is very similar to silicon, and Substance 112, which is a mucus-like substance which so far has the ability to strengthen acids. It is during this time that Neil Oswald records in his logs that the head of the Xeno team has been interfering with their operation, constantly wanting to oversee anything they do. He becomes quite annoyed at his presence, and eventually offers him to be the first one to go explore the tunnels above Site B, which are said to be the most dangerous part of the excavation. The Xeno officer enters the abandoned part of the mines. That was a climb. Hello? Who's there? And with that, the mine had claimed another. Neil Oswald reports that the head of the Xeno team did not return from his brave expedition. However, he doesn't bother sending anyone to look for him. An important note is that the Archaic personnel report that their equipment is being stolen by an unknown perpetrator, most notably radio equipment. There are certain theories as to what could happen, one of them even being so ridiculous as suggesting that a rogue miner named Tom Redwood may still be in the mines, but nothing is proven. With the recent discovery of the Persona TARDIS, the cast decide to bring it back to the Archaic base. A scientist there named Alfred Richardson takes an interest in the artifact. He becomes obsessed with the idea of opening it to find out what is emitting that strange orange light. His logs he records read as follows.
First of all, I need to introduce myself. My name is Alfred Richardson. I am a member of the Archaic cast. My biography is of no importance. I'm interested in the artifact that was found during our expedition at the beginning of the excavations, close to the shelter station. There are rumors that the British military were the first to find this strange object, but this information is not reliable. So, let's begin. Objective: understand what the sources of light, sense of euphoria, and short-term memory loss are. Description: it emits a dim orange light. After touching it, my body feels lighter. Well, what did I forget? Alright, ever since the discovery, I drew attention to them. The cast reacted to them cautiously, but that did not stop me. These things are something special. I'm sure that this thing is something more than just some ancient light source or a simple trinket. My name is Alfred Richardson. I'm running a series of experiments related to the artifact. The first record was just a little preface. Here we will deal directly with the experimental data. I'll start with the visual part. Oh yeah, I've already talked about it. What was I saying? My memory appears to have problems in the last days, and often I find myself thinking that it all started around the time that I became interested in the artifact. Frankly, my interest is not only scientific. It seems that the more time I spend with the artifact, the more my memory suffers. I need to remember that. Proceeding to a more detailed study of the subject. When I touch it, I feel the warmth, and I can't describe this feeling. It feels like flying. At first it scared me, but each time I like it more and more. I understand that these sensations are all fake, but they're interesting. No, I have other things to do besides studying the artifact. I just spent my free time studying it, although I don't remember what was happening in the morning. My name is Alfred Richardson. I'm running a series of experiments related to the artifact, which was found by the expedition. This is the third record. It's evening already, and I still can't collect my thoughts. I understand that I should stop the experiment, but I haven't even tried to open the artifact yet. So let's get started. I'm using a screwdriver to remove the lid. Let's try to open it. Oh hell, I dropped it. Seems undamaged. Well, it only confirms that simple physical impact won't open it. Enough for today. I'm tired. I should think about more effective ways of opening it before bedtime. My name is, Alfred Richardson. This is the fourth entry in a series of experiments that I'm performing on the artifact. Today is an unusual day. People from the lab, which is located next to the second living area of the station, have officially become interested in opening the artifact. It seems that it really is something important for the cast, but all other information is classified and available only to a narrow circle of people. I think that there's no point in trying to open the artifact myself. It's better to watch the progress in the laboratory. It's Alfred Richardson. This is the fifth entry. I'm recording directly from the lab, where a formula of special acid was created. It may be able to corrode the shell of the artifact. I decided that it would be only fair if I was the first one to discover the secret of the artifact. My curiosity has no limits. I have prepared everything necessary. Let's start. So, careful. I can see something already. So,
It is unknown exactly what happened when he used the acid to open the artifact. What he says right before it blacks out suggests that it worked, but perhaps he saw something rather chilling. A report on the incident reads as follows. The recent events have puzzled the elevated cast and the staff. For some time, experiments have been performed at the station in order to develop a special acid that could corrode the shell of the Persona TARDIS artifact. A week ago, the cast decided to stop the experiments due to other priorities. The day before the decision, Alfred Richardson, the biologist of the station, entered the lab and performed the experiment on his own. During it, he fell into a coma from which he can't wake up to this day. The reason for this turn of events is not clear so far, and a certain group of scientists is engaged in clarifying the circumstances. Several scientists, who are often in contact with Alfred before the incident, reported that he had been behaving strangely for at least a month before the tragic accident. Howard Lefresque puts forth alleged theories about the nature of what happened, but so far those are merely speculations. Alfred has been assigned status code C, and if he wakes up from his coma, it's unlikely that the cast will reinstate him in his position. We do not have an explicit date, but sometime during the water cave study, the cast uncover another blue artifact. We do not have any details of what testing was done with it, or where it went. All we know is that it ended up in the shelter. 20th of February, 1992. After the Xeno officer ventured up to the tunnels and didn't return, Site B began getting constantly attacked by the spiders that seemed to have come from the tunnels. The attacks had become much stronger, and they have been seemingly coordinating their attacks, timing them. It is unknown how many casualties are taken on either side, but the number is significant. Eventually, the Archaic decide to abandon Site B, and Neil Oswald leaves his final reports in a hurry. He reports that the enemy's attacks were now in a discernible pattern, and, more frighteningly, during the evacuation, the voices are still there, but now they sound more like laughing. On June 7th, 1993, there is a minor land collapse in the northwestern mountain range. It is believed that the mine is to blame, but there is no known explanation. Most likely the Archaic continuing to excavate deeper into the mountain. Now, with Site B being abandoned, and with the secondary occupation in the mines not having any meaningful results currently, the Archaic decide to start working on other projects while they continue excavating. The first of which is a DNA experiment. To keep things clear and concise, however, this DNA experiment will not be relevant for another 6 years, so we will return to it later. During this time, another notable experiment is taking place. This one involving human and computer symbiosis.
The experiment is headed by Dr. Veronica Helix, who gives a report on the current status of the experiment.
Synthesis of the computer and the human brain is perhaps one of the most fundamental ideas of recent time. With that technology, a person will be able to stay alive, or rather, leave their consciousness and mind functioning. The computer in this situation will play the role of a carrier and a transmitter of information. At the moment, there is a prototype of a mechanism that will allow to implement this fantastic idea. One of the authors of this idea was Oswald Borg, who died in 9007 or 1997 AD. His work has not been forgotten, and his ideas are still valuable to us this day. He is one of the brightest scientists on the station. Initially, the synthesis was intended as just an experiment, but later it became more personal for the scientist. When the project was close to realization, he was 73 years old. Thus, Oswaldo wanted to have a legacy of his own mind behind and benefit the Archaic castle even after his death. Unfortunately, when he died, he took most of his knowledge with him, and he didn't get to finish his experiment in time. His colleagues and other scientists are still trying to understand the principles of the device, and they are already close to its finalization. According to the team, the first test will be possible in 6 months. If this succeeds, huge, almost limitless possibilities will be created for mankind, which we could only just dream of until recently.
Unfortunately, this is all the information we have regarding this experiment. So now we will move on to the other experiment.
It is now year 2000. The DNA experiment that the Archaic have spent the last 6 years working on is finally ready. The experiment is headed by Christopher York, a member of the Chief Staff. He gives several reports detailing the experiment, and they read as follows.
In its extraordinary activity, the Archaic cast has decided to increase the performance of certain employees of the station. Our scientists have worked 6 years on the creation of the formula that can make adjustments to the DNA code. The cast intended to select 4 people to perform the experiment on them. Our society is so united in sharing a common goal that the choice of the cast for the participants hasn't been argued. Wilbur Frisk was extremely excited about the upcoming experiment. He undoubtedly wanted to achieve the ultimate goal. When all the final preparations were completed, we injected 3 subjects with the experimental serum. The 4th member of the experiment, D. Gordon, fell seriously ill, and it was decided not to vaccinate him until he recovers. To our great surprise, the effects of the experiment were noticed almost immediately. All participants' physical and mental performance significantly increased and their senses sharpened. People began to transform right before our eyes. We cannot say that they have suffered radical changes, but something in their facial expressions and behavior was different from those of ordinary people. As a security measure, we kept them in a special area just in case something were to go wrong. After a fairly long period of observation, we've seen no signs of aggression or hostility, and we released the superhumans, allowing them to be in a familiar environment. Contacts of the subjects with the station personnel also reinforced our confidence in the fact that we can only expect positive results from the experiment. Christopher York.
Back to the team in the mines. They are at this point starting to expand their control over the occupied zone, and two of the team members go ahead from the others. They turn the corner and are shocked to find a decomposing-looking dog walking the halls.
The dog's appearance was horrific. A fierce fight ensued, resulting in the workers killing the creature, but both of them suffering serious lacerations as a result. The corpse of the creature is brought to the shelter, where one of the scientists takes a closer look at it. First day of studies. Today we received a seemingly unremarkable specimen. Frankly, I was in complete disarray when two employees from Edward's team dragged a decomposing body of a dog in the lab. But it all fell into place when I was presented with a report of recent developments in the mines. I still can't believe that this individual could function as a living creature in such chemical and biological condition, as if something is keeping it from dying despite it looking like a corpse. During the autopsy, my colleagues and I found that nothing that could indicate how the dog survived, except there were no signs of genital organs. Also, it was worth mentioning that its eye structure is unusual, and its sharp teeth are surprisingly well preserved and sharp. The eyes of the thing are of particular interest. They are inherent with the phenomenon of bioluminescence, which is not of the characteristics of this species. Second day of research. While my colleagues are busy with chemical tests and other routine work, I'm turning to the other side of the incident. How exactly did the large dog of the Greenland breed get into the long-abandoned mine areas? Third day of research. At the moment, all of the standard procedures have been completed. For further research, we need the help of the Xeno group. It is a pity that Richard did not live to see these days.
Howard Lefresque is the chief translator of the Greenland Shelter Research Station, and as a result of joining the organization, he had to leave his pregnant wife behind with his unborn son. He named him Philip. He constantly reflects on this decision, but ultimately reminds himself that he is serving a higher purpose with the Archaic. However, Howard does mark Philip, after he is born, as an executive in all of his financial holdings, a fact that Philip himself is not aware of. February of 2000. Howard Lefresque's wife passes away. Philip, Howard's son, attends her funeral. February 20th, 2000. Due to the closing of Site B, the Greenland Shelter Research Station has begun slowing down in producing any kind of results, and the Archaic are beginning to worry that Wilbur Frisk may not be up for the task of remaining the chief overseer. Hence they appoint Garrett Quinn, who begins a efficiency report on Frisk. Efficiency assessment, as sanctioned by Elof Carpenter, elevated. Subject, Wilbur Frisk, Chief Overseer, Shelter Research Station, Greenland. Report filed by Garrett Quinn. February 20th, 2000. My assessment of Frisk begins today. I have taken up station as his personal assistant, and my report will run for 6 months. Since taking over control of the facility from Brent Stafferson in 1980, Frisk has turned up precious few results, and I intend to discover why. On the 3rd of March, 2000, the primary excavation uncovers the Tuurngait Tomb. The excavation continued despite protests from Howard the Fresk. The team in the mines is quickly ordered to find additional paths to the Tuurngait Tomb, as the cast believe it may be connected to the part of the mine that they are occupying. As the team in the mines make their way to the tomb, they encounter a hostile bat-like species that appears to have made this part of the mine their nest. A fight ensues with the Archaic guards, during which several specimens are neutralized and brought to the shelter to be studied. After approximately 52 phases, the team in the mine is pulled away from the mine, as the primary excavation has made progress on the Tuurngait Tomb, otherwise known as Site A. Edward N. records his final reports of the team leaving, as he is the away team leader. It is now that the shelter files their official report of all their findings from the Greenland site. The findings include Substance 53, Substance 63, Substance 70, Substance 71, Substance 72, Substance 73, Substance 74, and Substance 112. 27 66B artifacts, now referred to as the Persona TARDIS, which is believed to be related to the Tuurngait Tomb. Approximately 1 blue artifact, approximately 1 unknown specimen, which is expired, 10 statue-like artifacts, which are referred to as Finis Specialis, which have no known purpose or use, and are considered as little value. However, they are found to be extremely popular by the lower caste, and are often used as collector items. And finally, the Tuurngait Tomb.
March 5th, 2000. Having observed Frisk for 2 weeks, it seems my earlier assumptions may have been quite incorrect. He displays passion, efficiency, and above all, commitment to the cause. These qualities are ably demonstrated by his recent discovery of what is being called the Tuurngait Tomb at the primary excavation. He has, of course, called for a full-scale investigation.
Christopher York now makes his second report regarding the DNA experiment. The report reads as follows.
The experiment to create a superhuman was not the only field of our activity at the station. On March 3rd, 2000, we discovered the Tuurngait Tomb. No one knew what to expect. The positive results of the experiment also made the cast include test subjects in the group on the study of the tomb. A few days before traveling with the group of scientists, I became an involuntary witness to a case of blatant insubordination and recklessness. On 24th April 2000, I stayed the night at my workplace. Around midnight, I woke up to some noise. Looking up, I saw Wilbur Frisk injecting himself with medicine. It was the unused serum that was intended for Gordon D. I consider it necessary to note that we have used not all available serum, but only a quarter of the available doses. But Wilbur took a full dose. I don't know what drove him, and why he hoped that no one would find out. Frankly, I've always been a little bit afraid of Wilbur, and our relationship with him is purely professional. He saw me when he finished the injection, but he was not that surprised. I won't go into details, but I can only say that he had something to blackmail me. I promise to keep my mouth shut. Christopher York.
On the 27th of April, 2000, the investigation of the Tuurngait Tomb is scheduled at Chief Overseer Wilbur Frisk, despite Howard the Frisk protests. Several participants in the DNA experiment are participating in the investigation of the Tuurngait Tomb. Although we do not know which ones, we know Wilbur Frisk is one of them. On the 28th of April, 2000, the Archaic lift the doors of the Tuurngait Tomb.